Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte. Later in the show, a jazz legend is about to be our newest NEPM jazz host. We'll eavesdrop on a chat from our NEPM open house last night between Kari Njiri and Avery Sharpe.
We'll head into the Wine Thunderdome at Dare Provisions and Bottleshop in Lenox with a perfect wine for Thanksgiving dinner, Beaujolais.
And Live Music Friday with the huge Bantu Continua Uhuru Consciousness, BCUC for short, a 7-piece Afro-psychedelic future pop band from Soweto, South Africa, playing at Gateway in Holyoke tomorrow night.
Today is the last in our Media Lab series focusing on books for young people by local authors here in the 413.
There has been devastating news in Israel and Gaza in recent weeks, with some areas now fully at war. That was not the case over the summer when Serenitee Graham, a student in NEPM's Media Lab, interviewed Hannah Moushabeck about her new book, Homeland, My Father Dreams of Palestine. Here's Serenitee, a student at Ludlow High School, speaking with Hannah.
I enjoyed reading your book because it reminded me of when my family used to read me bedtime stories. The story was heartwarming, and I wanted to know if Homeland is inspired by a true story.
Yes, it is absolutely a true story about me and my sisters. And when I was a kid, my dad worked a lot. And so the time that we got to see him was like right before we went to bed. He would get home from work and he couldn't sing, he couldn't do any of the things that my mom would do, so he would tell us stories. And my father immigrated here from Lebanon in the 1970s, but before that, my family was exiled from Palestine in 1947. So he's had a long journey with lots of stories along the way, and he really wanted to make sure that we really felt a connection to our homeland that we were exiled from. So storytelling was sort of his way of giving us a look at the place where we're from, where we still can't return to this day.
Reading your bio, I learned that you grew up with a family that loves books. Did you always know you wanted to be an author?
You know, my parents moved here in the 1970s when they fled the civil war in Lebanon. And when they got to this country, they were appalled by the lack of representation of Arab Americans, particularly in the book industry. You know, the only representation you saw was on violent headlines in the news when the Gulf War was going on. So my parents set about starting a publishing company so that they could publish more books by Arabs about Arabs. So after that, my uncle started a bookstore and my aunt started a bookstore, and almost every member of my family works in the publishing industry, in the bookmaking industry. To say that it was something I always wanted to do is not exactly accurate. There was a lot of maybe pressure or inspiration to get into it. When we were kids, we would make jokes that we were going to rebel and become doctors, which of course never ended up happening. And to this day, we all are in the book industry.
Given that there's conflict in the Middle East, did you consider writing about that?
Yeah, you know, I think that there is a real, almost like a lust for trauma in stories. And there are so few books about Palestine. But as, you know, news watchers and, listeners of TV, all we ever see is violence enacted upon Palestinians. So I really wanted a book that actually celebrated Palestine, that celebrated my culture and all the beauty that it brings to the world, which is why in my book, I don't talk about the conflict. I don't talk about the trauma that my family went through. This is really a book to show, like, what a beautiful place and a beautiful people Palestinians are.
I never visited my homeland, Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic. Have you had a chance to visit Palestine?
I have not. My family has attempted on several occasions and have been denied. Unfortunately, even if you're an American citizen, if you're of Palestinian descent, you can often be denied entry to our homeland. And that's one of the injustices that Palestinian Americans face. But I hope that that will change in the future.
Hannah, can you read a short portion of something in your book?
Of course. So I'm going to read part of my author's note. My sisters and I grew up hearing stories of our homeland from our mother, father, aunts, and uncles. Sometimes I learned my history at family gatherings when the grown-ups became nostalgic and argued about how we were related to various people. No, you're second cousins on both sides, not first cousins on one side. My family laughed about old stories, between the hard times and during too. Sometimes stories were told to my mother by my father's mother, a bond between women, secrets meant to be passed like recipes to her daughters. Someday I hope to pass these stories on to my own children, just like I'm sharing this one with you. The stories told to me and my sisters before bed in the room we shared were the best. In the same night, we would hear a tale of a hero climbing a tower to rescue a magical princess, and then we would learn of our father as a boy, skillfully evading grumpy priests and stealing sweets from his teta's kitchen. Now it's hard to remember which were fairy tales and which were true, as the stories blend together and our homeland feels more and more like a magical place.
Is there one family story you often share with others that's not mentioned in the book?
You know, there's so many family stories, and my dad is, he's very descriptive, and he's also a writer, so he can weave an incredible tale about our stories. But as a kid, the ones that got me the most excited were like the hilarious ones, the ones about the farts, or how my dad's apartment window looked out across the street on his neighbor's apartment who he didn't like, and he would roll up little pieces of paper and get them wet and put them in a straw and basically shoot spitballs at his neighbor's window. And one day he covered the entire window with spitballs, and he would always get into trouble whenever he would do that. That was a story that I didn't want to include in here. I didn't want to encourage any bad behavior.
Is there a specific place from one of your dad's stories that you would like to visit?
Oh, so many places. I mean, mostly the food places because I love to eat, and the food is really incredible. But I would love to see my family's home. It is a place that still exists, so we could walk down the street and we could see the house that my family left all those years ago. Unfortunately, it's occupied by others, but I would really like to see it.
In my culture, we make tostones, which are fried plantains. Is there a specific dish from your homeland you would like to try, or is your favorite?
Oh my gosh. Well, we still make all the foods from our homeland, which is like one of the ways in which I love to share my culture. One of the things in this book that I think are so special that you don't see a lot is called lifit, which is a turnip, a pink turnip that has been pickled. So it's kind of like eating a pickle, and Palestinians put this on like falafel sandwiches, but I just like to eat it straight from the jar, just like a pickle, sometimes even with ice cream.
My family speaks Spanish, but I haven't learned. Are you fluent in Arabic?
That's a really good question, and I am not fluent in Arabic. I understand a lot, and I can say like the phrases to get me by. But I think particularly, people from colonized countries, the loss of languages is one of those tragedies that we experience. Not being able to experience our language surrounded by people who speak it, I think is one of the great tragedies of displacement.
That was Hannah Moushabeck, author of Homeland, My Father Dreams of Palestine. She was speaking to Media Lab intern Serenitee Graham. Note that this interview was taped during Media Lab's summer program, weeks before the current Israel-Hamas conflict.
However, Hannah did send us a follow-up statement earlier today.
3 weeks ago, I watched in horror as the events unfolded in occupied Palestine. As a daughter of the Palestinian diaspora whose family was ethnically cleansed from our homeland, the violence triggered a deep sorrow within me. For my entire life, I have watched the devaluation of Palestinian life and the vilification of Arabs in Western media and from our elected officials. But not since 9/11 have I seen such appalling dehumanization of my people. The false narrative being woven is causing real harm, not only to Palestinian civilians who are being killed in the hundreds every day by U.S.-funded weapons, but to Arab Americans who are being silenced, discriminated against, and even assaulted at an alarming rate. Stories about Palestinians are being engineered by those who do not consider us deserving of basic human rights. Stories have power. Americans are told the story that Palestinian death is an inevitable, unfortunate cost of safety. It is now more important than ever to listen to Indigenous Palestinians. read our books, and hear our stories. Thank you.
You can see videos of the interview with Hannah Moushabeck and Media Lab's Serenitee Graham, along with other conversations from this series at NEPM.org.
Last night, our new NEPM studios at 44 Hampden Street in Springfield held an open house.
And NEPM supporters who were treated to a performance and a conversation with NEPM's newest Jazz a la mode host, the legendary jazz bassist Avery Sharpe.
Avery was interviewed live on stage by the equally legendary voice of NEPM, Kari Njiri.
My youngest daughter's always on me about not knowing who's new because, I'm so into what I'm doing. I'm so busy writing, I'm so busy, performing and running my record company that I don't pay attention to what else is going on around me. So this kind of also forces me to keep up with what's happening and to take my eyes off the composer's score and music and just listen to what other people are doing because sometimes you can be so much into what you're into. We were just talking earlier about John Coltrane. Somebody asked him, about Willie Mays, and he goes, "Who's Willie Mays?" It's because he was just so focused. Sometimes you can be so focused into what it is that you're doing.
So you have to give a shout out to Tom Rainey, our host of Jazz a la mode, who started talking to you about coming on board.
Well, see, in January, February, I started doing the hosting at WETF in South Bend, Indiana, and Tom was hosting the premiere of Max Roach's documentary. It was part of the Northampton Jazz Festival, and they asked me to come, because they know Max Roach was a big influence on me. And so at the event, I said, Tom, man, I'm doing what you're doing, man. I'm DJing, And I guess he must have thought about it because a couple of months later he called me. He goes, "Would you consider joining NEPM?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah."
I am so excited to get a chance to listen to you on Friday night. As a musician, I wanted to ask, what got you to start playing, not only as a musician, but to play jazz? I know it wasn't the money, it wasn't the fandom or the groupies.
Yeah, what have I been doing for the last 40 years? Nobody ever asked me that. Huh? My mother was my biggest musical influence in terms. I started playing piano at 8 years old. My mother's were from the Church of God in Christ, Sanctified Church, Holy Roller Church. And actually, it's very strict. It's loosened up a lot. We couldn't congregate wherever the devil congregated. So I'm not supposed to be playing the music that I'm playing. I'm playing the devil's music. But since I've been a success at it, the church has sort of looked the other way. But anyway, my father was not into the church, so he brought in Duke Ellington, Count Basie, and he was listening to what my older brothers and sisters were listening to, like Motown. I was playing rhythm and blues or funk when I was in college, Motown, James Brown, Wilson Pickett, that kind of stuff. I mean, in high school and college. But hopefully, as you mature, your ears get bigger, and you want something, you start searching for something else. I went from Kool and the Gang. You ever heard Kool and the Gang?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But Kool and the Gang used to be what we call in the Chitlin circuit, which was really in the black circuit. And then they became sort of mainstream.
You still hear Kool and the Gang nowadays, and they hear party music, but most people don't know that they actually started off as jazz musicians.
Right.
Just like Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Just like Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yeah.
Just like the Funk Brothers, who created most of the Motown sound. They were all jazz musicians.
So I went from that. My wife, who's here now, she doesn't want me to acknowledge her, but she's here. We've been together 52 years, married 47 years.
All right.
So I guess musicians, especially jazz musicians, are not stable. So there goes that. So I was at University of Massachusetts in Amherst, and I'm listening to the radio, and these cats come on. Y'all know what I mean by cats. That's jazz vernacular for people. So all of a sudden I hear like these cats playing out, like different kind of music, and it was John Coltrane's Ascension, which is like out there.
It is out there.
So I just sat there mesmerized. People, I come from the Sanctified Church, and I know what a spiritual awakening is, and it was like a religious experience. I just went out the next day and started getting all the Coltrane records I could. I didn't realize he played with Miles. I started out with his out stuff, and this is drug-free. I never did drugs, so my brain was already there. And so my wife would say, I'm not coming over to your dorm if you're listening to that noise. Well, here we are. She's still listening to that noise. So that's really kind of how I got into jazz. And also, I was there at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst, a special time when Max Roach was there, Archie Shepp, Fred Tillis, Horace Boyer,
Yusef.
Yusef Lateef. But Yusef actually I met later on. But Reggie Workman was my first bass teacher. The cat used to play with John Coltrane. So I had all these people on campus. It's hard to get those people together in New York City, and I had them here on a campus.
I guess my next question is, when you come across people saying, well, I don't know about jazz, what is that? And when they hear some notions about what it is, in this new venture, what is it that you want folks listening as well as here to know that may not be as familiar with jazz in general, or you in particular, to know about you in this new venture?
What do I want them to know about me, or what do I want them to know about the music?
About the music, and you. Because I see you are the music.
Yeah, that's very true. And that's why this is kind of like a perfect fit for me at this venture of my my career and of my age, because I have played with so many people and I have so much experience that I forget. Music to me is life, and so I always use analogies of music and life. I always try to be open about life. I've known some of the smartest people on the planet and been around some of the smartest people on the planet, and the one thing that I notice about them is they're open. And I've always taught my kids to be open. I think that's the same thing about music. Keep your ears open. When I play the music, myself personally, and when I'm spinning records or whatever, I want people to be open and just feel the spirit, the vibe of what's there.
Well, we are so looking forward to having your energy as part of the NEPM family. Avery Sharpe, thank you so much. A reminder, he is on Fridays. It's part of the lineup that also includes Jazz Night in America with another great bassist as a host, Christian McBride. But we've got our own right here. It starts Friday. Welcome on board, and thank you again, Avery Sharpe.
Thank you.
The legendary Avery Sharpe and the legendary Kari Njiri. Thank you both so much.
Coming up, Live Music Friday with Afro-psychedelic future pop sounds from Soweto. BCUC is playing Holyoke Saturday night, but they'll play our studios later this hour.
Up next, climbing the pyramid of Beaujolais, a wine thunderdome at Dare Bottleshop Provisions in Lenox.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
We're back in the Berkshires, drinking at Dare Bottleshop Provisions with Mary Daire and Ben Daire.
He's shaking his head.
I'm trying so hard not to say it.
Don't.
Done that. Oh. And a new friend on your lap, Mary Daire.
This is the new shop dog, Violet. She's our little newest addition to the family.
She's the cutest little chihuahua.
You remind me today of a small Mexican chihuahua.
Super fun.
Beautiful color.
She's almost violet. You have a very cool thing happening tomorrow with a cool stop that used to be on Route 2 on the way out to the Berkshires from where I live that no longer exists, making food out of the Crescent City.
Like an open restaurant situation anymore.
But they're doing pop-ups, and one of them is going to be here in Lenox. Tell us what's happening.
Exactly. So we'll be celebrating our second birthday, weekend-long kind of birthday bash. So Saturday will feature the Wells Provisions pop-up, kicking things off from 10 to 1. They're going to come over to Lenox with a set menu of their gumbo and jambalaya and a few other things. And then we're going to roll that into our grand tasting Saturday afternoon. So we'll be featuring about 20 wines, craft beers, special sales. It's going to be a really fun start to the weekend. And Sunday we're doing an oyster party. They do shuck to order oysters, fresh Maine lobster rolls. So they come up from Brooklyn. We did a few pop-ups with them this past summer. Always a huge hit. And we'll have our local favorite ciders, Berkshire Cider Project here, pairing with some Highland Farm cheeses too. So making for a nice Sunday.
Now, last week on the show, we only had one wine for the Wine Thunderdome, and it's usually 2 wines enter, 1 wine leaves.
2 men enter, 1 man leaves.
But because we were 1 wine short last week, we have 3 wines to choose from today to see what we're going to vote for.
We're making up for it, for sure.
What's the first one we're going to try here, Mary?
Well, I
Daire?
wanted to kind of introduce the theme. For some of us, I think those, especially in the wine world, right about this time of year, we all start getting the B word in our minds. Beaujolais comes, kind of to the forefront because essentially it's a region, it's a style of wine that's perfect all year round. But especially this time of year as we approach the holidays, not only just for the historical significance of it with the third Thursday in November being Beaujolais Nouveau Day, but just because this wine pairs perfectly, this style pairs perfectly with, the Thanksgiving meal spread. Gamay, so the grape that is the king in Beaujolais, really is just sort of like the Swiss Army knife of wine styles. We wanted to do a special highlight today with you guys to go kind of up and down, north to south in the region.
If people aren't familiar with the phenomenon of Beaujolais Nouveau, tell us what that's all about.
Yeah, so Beaujolais Nouveau, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. It's a style of wine that really brought this region. So Beaujolais, we're talking about just south of the infamous Burgundy wine region. Beaujolais has sort of always been long in its shadows because the wines have just never reached that level of recognition on the world stage and the
I think they kicked Gamay out of Burgundy, didn't they?
Yes, Philippe the Bold was his name. He called it the unruly grape and didn't want it to have any role in all of the sacraments, and because it was, it was the monks ruling the show back in those days. Philippe the Bold literally kicked it out, banned it from Burgundy, and it found its home, which is a great home, thanks to the soils of Beaujolais. Gamay just thrives there. We're showing 3 different styles of it today. But so back to Nouveau. Nouveau is really sort of like what brought Beaujolais to the world stage, because it's that first, really, the grapes that were just harvested in September. Carbonic maceration, it's a really bright, fresh, happy style of wine, and it's allowed to be drunk the first time on that third Thursday in November. And it's a pretty big deal. It's always been a fun celebration in France and around the world. That infamous Georges Duboeuf, who he really did great things for the region in terms of getting recognition and making it wildly popular, the style of wine has sort of turned many consumers away from wanting to grab a Nouveau. It can be a little bit too banana, too bubblegum, too fruity tooty. Nouveau is having a resurgence and sort of in part to the small wine, the slow wine movement. So small producers who are just doing a Nouveau, but a really quality, concentrated, more thoughtful style. So we will be having some of those arriving to the shop in a few weeks. But until then, we are going to feature the pyramid of Gamay, the pyramid of Beaujolais. So tasting through 3 different styles and talking about what makes them different.
What's the first one?
We've got just a regular AOP Beaujolais. So this doesn't have any special location, geographic location. It's not a Beaujolais village or a lieu-dit. This is just a pure, clean, fresh Gamay. So the producer, cannot go without mention, Marcel Lapierre is the name of the winery, and he's one of they call the Gang of Four. One of the most infamous 4 personalities of the Beaujolais region, who really, is responsible for uplifting the recognition and the quality of Beaujolais in the world's view. So this is his entry level. It's called Raisin Gaulois. The label is fun. There's a guy, with just mouth open, squeezing some grapes, getting that lovely juice. A screw cap closure. It's easy. It's approachable. You don't need to put too much thought into this red. Put a slight chill on it, and it'll be a great accompaniment to food or not. It's very light in alcohol.
Thoughts, Khalees?
It is everything that you said it is. It is light, it is playful, it's really dancey. This would be a porch drinker, except that it's cold outside.
Don't remind me.
And it snowed 2 days ago.
Oftentimes, Gamay writ large is too bubblegummy, as you're mentioning, very strawberry, but this one a lot more elegant. It's got a lot more layers. Very nice. The name of wine number 1 again?
Wine number 1, Raisin Gaulois, which Ben can translate for us. No, babe?
Ben Daire, who's from France. He doesn't even look. I don't know what every English word means.
Raisin Gaulois.
Raisin Gaulois, les raisins de la France. Gaule, all named for France.
Oh. The raisins of Gaul.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, there you go. Taking it back to Asterix and Obelix.
And and the label looks a little asterixy.
Exactly.
The occupation of Gaul, as we see, was no Roman holiday.
Also, this is light enough if you're looking for a lighter Thanksgiving red, where it would work across the board for most of the things that you see on a Thanksgiving table.
Yeah.
It's funny how it works out that way. Obviously, the French didn't plan it to be matching up perfectly with America's Thanksgiving, but it is the ultimate wine for Thanksgiving.
Ben Daire?
It's an ultimate wine, it's a bistro wine. It's you go for lunch, you go with a creamy chicken dish, you go with charcuterie, a lot of cheeses, and geographically, Beaujolais is the closest region to Lyon, and Lyon is the capital of food from the easy bistro food was kind of born in Lyon.
What's our second Beaujolais.
All right, we have to kind of picture a bit of a triangle. The very bottom is kind of where we just were, right, with the regular Beaujolais. Beaujolais Nouveau would be mixed in there too. And in terms of being in that larger swath, it's also because of the quantity produced. Think of Beaujolais Nouveau, 75 million bottles are produced every year. So that takes up that huge bottom chunk. We're going to go up to that second tier, which is Beaujolais Village, essentially taking a microscope to a smaller area of Beaujolais. There's 29 different villages, and this one that we're featuring is from another of the famous four, the Gang of Four, Jean Foillard. So this is his Beaujolais Village, the 2020, so it's got a couple of years on it. You'll see, I think, that there's already quite a remarked difference in just looking at the glass in terms of the color, a darker, fuller body, and on the palate as well, you'll see a bit more complexity and nuance.
Oh yeah, it already, there's some funk there.
Oh, yep.
Yay.
A lot of good stank.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah, so do
I. The Gang of Four, if you were to look up the Gang of Four on the internet, you'd want to make sure to put Beaujolais because there's
a punk band.
There's a punk band.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm definitely already planning on using their music for this segment.
So there's the punk band, of course, and then there's something to do with the Chinese Communist Revolution that would take you in a whole other direction.
Which is where the punk band got their name from, actually. Everything is connected.
It's all linked. So the Gang of Four is really these four infamous producers. We just tasted through Marcel Lapierre's first wine there. Jean Foillard is our second. We do not have the other two featured today, but one is Jean-Paul Thévenet and the other is Guy Breton. And they really make up sort of the core of bringing Beaujolais back onto the quality wine scene in terms of the world's wine lovers. The kind of the OG producers of the natural wine movement. If you hadn't known the production methods, they really just come across as beautifully clean, well-made, elegant wines.
Yeah, they're not doing it for the hipster sizzle. They're doing it because they know this is the way that they should make it.
Hipster
Yeah,
sizzle.
look, the label looks
Hipster
very
sizzle.
traditional.
Coming to a pub near you. I am genuinely surprised at how much this tastes both like flowers and mushrooms.
Yeah.
Ben was sure to open this up and air it out quite a bit before you guys arrived, just because it needs to.
Did you shake it?
It needs to open at the bottom top.
Kind of like a Corona shake.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a violent shake you can do. You can also do the Corona shake. You know what I'm talking about. Stuff the lime in your finger. You went to college.
Such a testament to the magic of Beaujolais, have such different personalities, even though they're essentially vines growing within just a few miles or eye shot of one another. It's thanks to the amazing bedrock and the soils that are present in this one region that attribute to such wildly diverse kind of notes and aromas and taste profiles that we get from one little area.
That's terroir. I mean, and if you listen to yesterday's show, we heard about how so much of the apple crop locally was decimated, but one farm that has a particular north-facing hill had the entire crop, all right near each other in a very small radius. Those tiny little differences can be huge.
Yeah.
One thing that blew me away that I just found out about Beaujolais is that it was listed and named now as one of the UNESCO, it's a UNESCO Global Geopark.
Oh, cool.
That happened in 2018. So that means it's this protected, really purposefully protected area of the world.
At Dare Bottleshop and Provisions in Lenox with Mary and Ben Daire, who have an amazing weekend, 2-year anniversary celebration coming up this weekend. We usually do 2 wines enter, 1 wine leaves, but we only did 1 wine last week, so we have to make up the gap this week. And what is our third Gamay/Beaujolais from this region just south of Burgundy in France?
Exactly. So
I like the pun on the label. Spécial.
Right? Yeah. So you guys can't see the wine at home, but we are featuring, so this is the Cuvée Spatiale. It's a Fleury, which is a cru, the top tier. We're at the top of the pyramid now for Beaujolais. Then we wanted to feature the kind of the new generation, the up and coming folks. So this is a young guy, Roman from Château du Grand Pré. Folks come in and ask for the astronaut wine, but that's our...
Hence Khalees's reference to Spatial, because it's got an outer space astronaut with a wine cask under his arm.
Exactly.
Or her. Could be Katie Coleman.
There.
Under their arm.
Gender neutral pronouns are easy.
So we're featuring the Fleury to kind of round out the tasting because this is where Beaujolais really shines the brightest. Fleury is one of the cru, part of 10. So these are specified areas of Beaujolais. They're carved out on a map as being exceptional
Think Hadley asparagus as opposed to just asparagus in Western Mass.
There you go, exactly. So when you look at Beaujolais, and if you kind of know about where your wine is coming from, it'll give you a good idea of where it falls on the hierarchy. Fleury's right in the middle in terms of north to south. Fleury is one of the interesting ones because you can have styles that are really dark and full-bodied or much more on the lighter floral side. They change drastically as we go north to south.
And we're talking about how big of an area? Very small.
There's a whole map
What is
here.
it, 60
I think it's 60 kilometers from...
60 kilometers, which is nobody knows amount of miles.
It's about 40-ish.
Which I think is almost Berkshire County north to south.
There
So
you
if
go.
you think like Williamstown down to Sheffield, that's more or less the size of Beaujolais.
This smells like honey and prunes,
This one is much more floral than the other one, less funky.
but richer.
There's a lot of violet, which is not just the
Yeah.
name of your weird,
Yes.
of your wonderful Chihuahua.
Same.
I didn't mean to say weird. Ben Daire says don't cut that. You don't cut that.
You remind me today of a small Mexican Chihuahua.
But yeah, there's a violety. The nose on this one really knocks my socks off. I love it.
So yeah, this kind of shows the next, the young gun coming up to really show what he can do, and I think is kind of keeping the reputation of great Beaujolais going strong.
And this label does have hipster sizzle with an astronaut.
It
An astronaut
does.
with 2 wine bottles as their oxygen tanks.
Right.
Ben Daire.
We do an event, a wine dinner all about Beaujolais. So it's coming up on the 17th of this month, the Berkshire Botanical Garden. So Ben will be cooking. We're going to feature a swath of wines from Beaujolais, from sparkling wines. There are white wines made in Beaujolais. If you have a white Beaujolais, it's Chardonnay, and it really harkens to some lovely examples from its neighbor to the north in Burgundy. It's a great opportunity in these intimate dinners to just sort of, open people's eyes up to the depth of this region. We boldly titled the dinner Beaujolais the New Burgundy with a question.
All those ancient monks are going to be really upset.
But it's fun to start talking a little bit about how these 2 close neighbors that have been wildly separated for a long time are inching a little bit closer back together.
The time has come for us to vote.
So how do you guys want to judge that? Are you going to...
Not thinking about Thanksgiving pairings or anything like that. Just overall favorite
Yep.
drinking right
Okay,
here, right
cool.
now,
That you would
with
wanna crack open
with a
tonight.
super cute Chihuahua that is sitting on Mary Daire's lap. I love the Cru Beaujolais. It's now got like a church incense thing happening, which I really, really love. It's the monks and the ghosts of the monks. But I think the Beaujolais Village, I love funk. I'm going with the stank
Nice.
mushroom
Nice.
of the second wine, the Beaujolais Village.
I think I agree. There's something about the funk that I also like funk in a way that's balanced. And
We
again,
want the
like,
funk.
Mushrooms and flowers are like my favorite things, and then they're together in a glass, and that's just beautiful.
The Cru Beaujolais is excellent.
It is,
And
like,
also
there's no bad wine we have had today.
The
They're all
Raison
amazing.
Gaulois is one of the first wines that converted me away from hating Beaujolais,
Nice.
having only experienced Beaujolais Nouveau,
Yeah.
which was
Yeah.
a fun experience and everyone should do it, but
Right.
was not, in my
Proceed
opinion, a
with
quality wine.
Proceed with caution. Yeah.
Well, the thing I love the most about it is it reminds you that this is a farm product.
Yeah,
And Beaujolais
there you
Nouveau
go,
feels like a
yes.
farm harvest
Yeah.
festival thing, like cider days.
Exactly,
You know,
for sure.
Yeah.
And that is what's super fun about it. And then you guys will have to come back when we get the Nouveau in stock in a couple of weeks.
I know, right? I haven't had
Okay.
a Nouveau that is not de Boeuf. So that's
wow,
worth trying because,
great.
frankly, I'm not a big fan of Beaujolais Nouveau.
yeah.
It's like garbage. It's fun, but it's also like this is why winemakers put these things in barrels.
Up next, Live Music Friday with Afro-psychedelic future pop from Soweto. BCUC is playing Holyoke this weekend. We'll see how this big band sounds in our tiny little studios in just a minute.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM. Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. I'm Monty Belmonte.
And I'm Khalees Smith. Bantu Continua Uhuru Consciousness, or BCUC, got started in just a stone's throw away from Desmond Tutu's home in Soweto, South Africa, in the township of 1.3 million souls that was once the epicenter of the anti-apartheid movement.
Their Ancient to the Future sound is a next-century mashup of township music, shebeen or bar music, church music, gospel punk, and rock and roll, all of which you can hear on their latest album, Millions of Us, just released this past June.
Their dance floor Afrofuturism has been lighting up stages all over the globe on a regular basis, and Saturday night they will will bring their huge band and even huger sound to Gateway City Arts through Ray Street Live and Holyoke. Welcome to Live Music Friday, BCUC. Yeah.
Let's launch right into a song.
Let's just go in.
Yeah.
America! Zubladledle kanobamba. Sibadlula sibadledlete. Nkosi dlamini twaba selithulisa abancoba ngani bakhipha imlami gezenta phuma busakalala bona bokledletela. Zubladledle zalwa kudala njengenkomo sofuza kanamsini. Zabani matiba dlomo sofishin ngolomsini meme vela amampezele makhosi amakhulu. Ithini bantu continue wahuru consciousness. Music for the people, by the people, with the people. Indigenous sound, versatile on the ground, matlapa mirafong. Big waba! Come on. Hurry up with the fuss. Manuelito! Shut away. Sinithembile kulomhlahlanje ensuku ngizophila wambali muyinde umnyama kubovu siqhubeka ngayindlela Ithi noma indlela nzima noma indlela idaba noma indlela nameva siqhubeka ngayindlela Sinyanya zakithi sikanyiseleni indlela Sinithembile kulomhlahlanje ensuku ngizophila wambali muyinde umnyama kubovu siqhubeka ngayindlela phela lo mkhulu ethi aweleni 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 makhosi khosi 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 makhosi khosi khosi What's up, 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 what's up? We call ourselves BCUC, Bantu Continua Uhuru Consciousness. Music for the people, by the people, with the people. From South Africa. And thank you for welcoming us in your beautiful studio with nice tea. And the room with glass, you know, like soundproof. It's like we're living in the movies. Come on! Okay, take it down just a little bit. Maybe we can start this interview.
BCUC, as you see, and as you heard, playing at Gateway City Arts in Holyoke, Ray Street Live tomorrow night, and a secret show with Secret Planet tonight, which is not too late to join up.
Yeah, if you join up today, you can go to the secret show that happens tonight.
Friday.
But you have to sign up for Secret Planet, so you can find out more information through their website. Let's take a quick break.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break.
Let's take a break.
And then we'll
Let's
come
take
back
a
and we'll
break.
meet the band and we'll hear more music.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 Live Music Friday on 88.5 NEPM. Welcome back to the Fabulous 413, this Live Music Friday, and we are joined in the studio by BCUC, Bantu Continua Uhuru Consciousness.
You heard.
Do you want to introduce all the members of the band? There are 7 of you in here playing 2 kungas, a bass, some whistles, some shakers, and a turned-over garbage pail.
And cowbell.
Yes.
And cowbell, yeah.
Well, we'll start on my side. I'm KG, I'm Khomozo, and I do vocals in the band. Yeah.
All right.
BCUC.
Jovi, yeah, I do the lead vocals. And then on bass, we've got Msebenzi. Today on a conga, but usually on another big bass drum is Kumbuzo. And then he plays the drum in a Zulu way, you know, like, and he is our metronome, you know, like. And then we've got Lucha, who plays another bass drum, but he plays it like a 808.
Like an 808. Oh, yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Don't mess with us like
Hip-hop
that.
culture, everybody.
Yes. And then we've got Hloni. Yeah, Hloni. Lucha raps too. Hloni is our spliff star. Like he hollers and shouts and screams while I'm screaming. Like he's the fire starter, you know. And he's a rapper too. And he plays the cowbell, you know, like. And then we've got Chicks. Chicks plays the congas, you know, like he's the one that's always not wearing a shirt.
Including right now.
Even now. Like it's cold, it's warm, like the guy like never wears a shirt.
Can't blame him.
Man's always hot. Man's always hot. Yeah.
Cool. Oh no! I'm too much in revel from what we just heard.
Yeah.
Where I can't actually process questions now. I just want to hear more and dance.
Well, our friend Ito Moore said that sometimes when people come out of your show, it's like it's
Yes.
been a religious experience. There seems to be this mix of like gospel and rhythm and all that. Is that what the name Bantu Continua Uhuru Consciousness means? Is that what that comes from? That kind of name and that ideology?
Well, the name means Bantu, which is a Nguni word for people. Continua is continuation. Uhuru is freedom for in Swahili. Consciousness is awareness.
Yes.
So basically, we are people pursuing in the pursuit of consciousness, of connection. So
of
that's
the
what we do.
awakening
Yes.
of what's inside you, you know, like we are lighting the candles that live inside our souls,
I love it.
So like the gospel, there has to be the gospel, because like you can't sing about love and belief and faith without having the gospel in it, So like it has been from the beginning, but then like we're from South Africa, so like being from South Africa means like you wanna put some jive, you wanna put some. I think it's a bit of township, because like other people call the music of their eras, but the music of our era is kwaito. So like there is kwaito in it, and there is a lot of traditional music,
And 11 languages, is that right? That you guys sing in?
We are being accused of singing in 11 languages, but yeah, what is it with South Africa? In South Africa, like we speak as many languages as possible.
Yeah.
So like we've got neighbors from all the tribes, So sometimes we use words, for example, in a sentence, we can use 4 languages.
I love that.
So like if we use your language and you recognize your language, and then you say, are you aware you are singing in 11 languages? Yeah, because we're from South Africa, but predominantly we sing maybe in about 6 languages.
Only 6.
Only 6.
Yeah.
Predominantly, but then we want to put words from your languages too, like.
Well, we don't want to run out of time before people get to hear more music, but it's BCUC, Gateway City Arts, Ray Street Live tomorrow night, and a
DJ
secret
Theory
show.
opens.
A secret show tonight if you join Secret Planet. We'll remind you one more time, but Khalees and I are just going to kick the chairs off and dance. So take it away one more time, BCUC.
And this is what is our acoustic version, because like it gets crazy. Like we are extremely insane. Like be warned.
I can't wait.
Yeah,
I've seen the
warned.
videos. Like
Yeah,
it's
like, we
amazing.
insane,
High
like,
energy. Come prepared to dance.
Yes. Okay, let's go in.
My black thoughts, black Mary, don't you weep, because black is the ultimate state of color. Black studies with rapid consciousness, black faces be proud, because black nations is uniting in one voice. Black blondes, please quit bullshitting. Black stabbing backstabbers is the only mission. Black no brotherhood is inseparable. Black kings is taking over the reins, but black right in every parliament. Now use my black labor by force of manipulation. My black people with this fast is all black. Black to the future.
BCUC, Saturday night, Gateway City Arts in Holyoke. We'll see you Monday on the Fabulous 413.
Yeah, yeah.